Welcome to Photography Fridays. My name is Chris, and this week we're going to be talking about how to take a picture of the moon. Okay, so moon photography is actually much more simple than you would probably think it to be. It's really not all that bad. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a camera, preferably with either interchangeable lenses or a long zoom. So if you have, for instance, a Canon DSLR that you can change the lenses out, you're going to want a 55 to 250, a 70 to 200, a 100 to 400, 70 to 300, a fixed 400, a fixed 200, something like that zooms way in. Now obviously the more zoom you can get, the better, and what I use is this right here. This is a old film camera lens for this film camera, and it has the M49 mount, so it screws on, so I have to have an adapter, but it's a fixed 200 with a 2x teleconverter, and that makes it a 400 millimeter lens, and it's manual focus and all of that, so it's a little tricky to take with a moon, and there's definitely not image stabilization in it, so a tripod is needed. I would recommend using a tripod anyway, just so that you don't shake, you don't get any of that motion blur or anything like that on accident. So even with this that has image stabilization, I will use a tripod, and I would recommend you using a tripod for whichever lens you have or choose to use. So when you're thinking about moon photography, you probably think about nighttime photography, and they're two completely different things. Now normally the moon is pretty bright, so you're going to kind of do the opposite of what you might originally, think you're going to do. You're going to put your ISO as low as possible. So if you can put it on 100, on 50, whatever, turn it as low as you can, because that's going to give you the cleanest image. There's going to be less noise, or virtually no noise, on 100 or 50, versus if you turn the ISO up to 400 or 800 or 1600, which is going to be way too bright anyway. So you need to turn it all the way down, and then you need to turn your aperture or your f-stop anywhere from 8 to 10. When you have a lens like this and you have the 2x converter, this is a 3.5 lens, but this bumps it up 2 stops. So instead of going to what would be f10 on the lens, I go down, and that would be about f8-ish. On this, I turn it to f10, f11, f9, somewhere in there, just to make sure that the moon is in focus and crisp and all of that. So once you do that, then you're going to turn your shutter speed to whatever it needs to be to make the moon the right exposure. Now, you're going to probably think, without looking at it, that it needs to go down because it's a nighttime photo, but the moon, like I said, is pretty bright sometimes. So you're actually going to turn your shutter speed higher and faster. Now, you'll have to play around with it depending on your lens, your camera, your nighttime conditions. It all depends on how bright the moon is and how, maybe dark it is. So you'll have to play around with that. But you should be able to take a handheld shot of the moon. Your shutter speed shouldn't be so slow that you need a tripod, but you should still use a tripod. Now, if you're in the daytime, you're definitely going to have your shutter speed super, super high, because it's going to be bright outside and the moon is going to be bright. And there's really not that much to it. That's pretty much it. Your ISO needs to be as low as possible. Your aperture needs to be on 10. Your shutter speed needs to be pretty fast, but you need to play around with it and figure out just right, get just the right exposure. And you need a big lens. You need a zoom lens, such as the 55 to 250, or a 200 with a teleconverter. Something along those lines will do perfectly. With the 55 to 250, the moon isn't going to be as big, but depending on your camera and depending on how perfect the focus is, you will be able to crop it in a little bit after you take the picture, but only a little bit. For my camera, I can crop in some if I get the focus perfect with this lens, but this isn't the sharpest lens ever, so I can't crop in that much. With this lens, I haven't had to crop in so much because really the few moon pictures that I've taken with this lens have had framing in it, where I'm shooting through trees and the moon is right there in the daytime. I haven't cropped this one in yet, but depending on your camera, depending on your lens, it can be done. Just don't crop in too much or it'll get fuzzy and pixely and it won't look right. Don't be afraid to get off of automatic mode, because automatic mode is not going to do right in this situation. Just follow the instructions that I said and you should get a good moon picture. Now, if you don't, keep trying. Don't give up. Like I always say, you just need to take pictures and take pictures and take pictures, and eventually you will get better at it. You'll figure stuff out and you'll learn. So thank you guys for watching this week's episode of Photography Fridays. If it was helpful, hit the thumbs up button and hit subscribe. I post a Photography Fridays every week at 3 o'clock on Friday. And I also post vlogs if you want to know what's going on in my crazy life. And I just got this new thing, which is interesting. There will be a unboxing kind of video coming out soon on it. So hit subscribe for more content, or just for the Photography Fridays episodes every Friday at 3. So I will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.